Hello, social workers, mental health professionals, and change agents. Welcome to another episode of season 8 of the Social Work Rants podcast. I'm your host, Bash Moreno. Saludos a todos. Greetings, everybody. Thank you for tuning in, tapping in wherever you are watching or listening to this podcast. I appreciate all the love, support. Follow the podcast on Instagram at the Social Work Rants podcast. That is all one word. And on Facebook, aka Meta, type in the Social Work Rants podcast, hit that like button. Of course, YouTube, hit that red subscribe button. You can listen to the podcast on all, so however you listen to podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts, just hit the like button. Like, share, subscribe, download, and enjoy some of your favorite social workers and future social workers as we talk about the interesting world of social work and just life in general. Um, yes, so before I introduce my guests, I always forget to do the disclaimer, so let me get that out the way. Disclaimer: just well, the podcast is not intended for as a substitute for individual therapy. If you need assistance, call 988, call 911, if you have a therapist, call your therapist. If you have a psychiatrist, call your psychiatrist. Mobile crisis is okay not to be okay. For those outside of America, the U.S., wherever your emergency number is, use that and get the assistance that you need. And this podcast is sponsored by Bass City Entertainment, doing business as Bass Moreno Consulting, providing financial education for Gen X people of color, provide financial stability. For more information about signing up for a 15-minute consultation, financial consultation with me, go to basmoreno.com. That's BASMORENO.com for more information and sign up to the email list. Now, my guest at this time, MSW student out in Rutgers, Sam Mandara. What's going on? How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good today.
I got so excited for this that I tried to log on Zoom like an hour ago. And be like, wait, it's at 7. I'm an hour ahead. That's what I'm excited. So I wanted to be intentional on interviewing current MSW students. I feel like I'm out the loop. Like, what is happening in these schools? Let's see, um, and just to at least get a feel of what's being taught, what's happening. From what I gather on these social media streets, is like a lot has not changed in terms of uh, day in day out practice. Like people still geared to like private practice, even though there's been more macro, I guess, more than ever. Uh, Macro talk, there's more community organizing happening, concentrations. So it's not as clinical, I guess, like it used to be, which is great because we do a lot of different things in social work. So, Sam, I don't want to take too much time. Let people know well, a little bit more about you.
Yeah, sure. So, hi, everybody. Thank you for having me here today. My name is Sam. I use he, him pronouns. I'm currently a second year student at Rutgers, but I am in a part-time track, so it's 3 years instead of 2 years. This is my first year at an internship, so it's a generalist year. I am placed within two different schools, within like a community-based health center that provides dental care, optimal care, as well as behavioral health. I mainly do behavioral health, like sessions with kiddos in the school, intake assessments, treatment planning, and kind of seeing how like a health center is run, within a school. So that's been a pretty interesting like field experience so far within that.
That's cool. What are you seeing with the kiddos?
Yeah, sure. I mean, some of the issues could be like academic concerns. I think a lot of it though is behavioral challenges, and kind of seeking help. I mean, the program that I'm doing within the schools is it's kind of open to all students that are in within certain schools in the district. So there is no like prereqs or you don't need insurance to get these sort of services. So kind of just the parent could refer them. It could be through guidance or even child study team or different sources, and then they'll refer them to this clinic, and then we'll kind of evaluate like what services we think they would benefit from, and getting the parents' consent, and then we will proceed with enrollment.
That, so it almost sounds like it's like a community clinic, but it's like through the district.
Yeah, basically, it's kind of like a kind of like a one size fits all. Like it kind of has everything. Like we have a psychiatrist on staff, pediatrician, obviously like social workers, therapists within that realm. So it's kind of just like whatever a child would probably need in terms of like behavioral, physical health, kind of in this one area. It's not in every school, but there
Mm.
are certain schools that are affiliated with this sort of program.
Oh, I like that. I've experienced something like that in the Bronx, and instead of finding a PCP, like, and appointments would be like weeks out, just have everything done through the school system and kind of just be done. And so it helps the parents out a lot. Yes, so tell me a little bit more about what's life as a MSW student.
Yeah, sure. So I guess like this year is like the first year of a field experience. So that's kind of been like a certain number of hours a week. I think it's like 15 hours right now I'm completing. So I think just like trying to balance all that, like the internship, taking like 4 classes right now. Most of them are electives because I've kind of finished most of the requirements, I would say, but just kind of balancing out that. And then I am also a research assistant on the side for my school as well. So I do a couple hours a week on that, and just trying to find that balance within all the different roles that I play as a student, research assistant, and just kind of working through all that.
Uh, are you able to share what some of the stuff you're working on as a research assistant?
Yeah, sure. So it's within the Center for Prevention Science through Rutgers, and it's basically kind of a program with like opioid response. So basically, I'm kind of
Mm,
evaluating like the efficiency of these programs and kind of doing a lot of data entry within like online database systems, and kind of translating information from like an intake or a discharge and kind of putting it to a more like secure database. And that's pretty much what I've been doing for I think since September now. So a couple months of kind of just learning how to collect data, learning how to analyze it, and kind of learning how to put it into a database system. So it's kind of been interesting to see kind of the research side of social work.
mm. Well, that sounds fascinating. What type of classes have you taken that you found interesting that Rutgers offers?
Yeah, so I mean, for me, I'm on a clinical track, so I am kind of taking more or less like clinical classes, but I have like some of them are kind of macro based. Like I've taken like practice with individuals and families, which is more kind of like micro based, kind of like working with individuals in groups, like small groups. And then I did take one last semester as well that was practice with organizations and groups. That was kind of looking in terms of working with institutions, but more kind of on a macro based level. I've taken diversity and oppression, just like other things like field related classes, like with the internship.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, it's just been like generalist classes, kind of like foundational courses of the social work program. And now I'm kind of getting more into like electives. Like the semester I'm taking, I think it's like sexual and gender diversity within social work. So that's kind of been a class that's kind of been interesting to see how that plays out. But just kind of getting experience in different areas. Like I've taken classes in like children and development and things like that. But I am also concentrating in like addictions. Like I am
Mm,
enrolled in like an addiction kind of based program. So there's like a focus on addictions. Like I've taken 2 courses in that, and then it will like help me prepare for like an LCADC, I guess it's considered, as well as like a gambling certificate as well. So there's
mm.
definitely a lot of opportunities through Rutgers, a lot of certificate programs, kind of like whether it's children or older adults, kind of wherever your area is. And even if there isn't an area, they'll kind of customize it to kind of help you achieve whatever goals you want to achieve within the social work realm.
Yeah, the Yeah, L, is that LADC?
Yeah, I think it's licensed counselor of alcohol and drugs. Yeah, it basically just prepares you like I think it's like six classes I take. I've taken two of them so far, but it kind of just gives you like the coursework to kind of pursue that. And there's also
Mm,
a gambling class that does allow you to become a gambling counselor, which I kind of thought was interesting. I didn't even really know that was an option until I was kind of looking into this program and kind of the certificate. So I think it's just a great opportunity to kind of further your knowledge and kind of get expertise in different areas because I kind of have a lot of different interests at the moment. So
gotcha. I'm glad that there's a certification for the gambling because I had a client who had a bad gambling addiction. They just first of the month, without fail, go to the casino and like, what about your rent? What about getting money to get your medicine or whatever? And it's just without fail is to a point that I thought about like once I knew where the casino was, kind of like do a stakeout, try to look for the client. So is yeah, so I'm glad that's offering and now addictions. I mean, obviously you mentioned fentanyl before. I mean, besides the fentanyl, especially in New Jersey. Know if you plan on staying in New Jersey, there's definitely having that foundational, those core classes to would be very beneficial for you to land a job post grad. So it's definitely good that Rutgers is doing that.
yeah. Yeah, I think so. It just kind of gives you opportunities in different fields. I mean, I have like colleagues that are in my classes that have all different interests, and I think the macro social work realm is kind of definitely an interest of mine as well. I know Rutgers does offer a bunch of classes kind of in that track if you want to kind of learn like more business skills or kind of more just like leadership or more like director sort of skills. So I think there's a lot in social work, and that's kind of why mainly I chose this field because I didn't see myself like just doing like direct practice, like therapy sessions one on one. I kind of wanted to have more options. And I feel like the good thing about this field is like it is very versatile and there's so much you can do. And there's so many different populations, areas you can work with. And there's definitely a need for mental health and these kind of issues that people go through and just to kind of have that support.
No, of course, I absolutely. Um, how do you balance in your time with now doing the internship plus the four classes? I know I was basically on autopilot for a long time while in school. How's it been for you?
Yeah, so I think for everyone it's different, but I think for me it's just been important to be realistic with my expectations. Like I try not to do too many different roles like outside of say the internship, the classes, the research assistantship. Like right now that's kind of what I'm focusing on more or less. It's just those three things. I'm not trying to take on any like new job opportunities at the moment, just kind of going with that. And obviously as the requirements kind of get more difficult, like next year I'll be doing like 25 hours or something along the lines, and the full course load will kind of just like increasing as I go along. So I think just to be realistic with what you're setting yourself up to do, like there's things we have to do, but I think just like setting boundaries as well as just kind of practicing self-care, like doing things that generally make you happy outside of academics or an internship, and to kind of give yourself safe like yourself space to do that within the time you have. And I think just being really intentional about your time too, just not procrastinating and kind of using tools like that to kind of just get through.
What are the type of things that you do for self care?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing for me is doing stuff that's not mental health related. Like I have had a lot of jobs like in the field, like I have been in like the daycare realm for a while, like working with little kids on the side, things like that. But I think just like doing things that are not mental health related, like going like out with friends or doing things socially or kind of just like reading a book or just doing things to help me like reset my mind and just kind of have a break from like the clients I work with and just kind of being able to like have that space to kind of separate those things, I think is important. And like helping prevent burnout or just like fatigue, and kind of balancing it all.
That sounds good. Has there been discussions with your classmates or even with the institution about being paid while you're doing your internship? I know that's been a big push I've seen on Instagram, and I know a couple of people who are actually doing uh, setting the or pushing that. I guess agenda might be a wrong word to use, but my point is like there's been a push online for MSW students to get paid for their internships. Has there been any discussions about that?
I think so. I mean, there's definitely been discussions in the works about that, as far as I'm concerned, but I know it just depends on like the agency itself and whether or not it'll pay. But I mean, I know a lot of colleagues of mine are in like whether it's like a work study program or maybe it was a full-time job first and they pay them to do the hours, but it's still like the requirements of the internship. So I think it just depends on the agency itself and if they're willing to pay the students. But I definitely think it could be something that could be beneficial, especially for students that or maybe parents or have other obligations and they have to work. They can't just, kind of put everything on hold and just focus on the program. So I think it's definitely something that should be more considered in terms of these field placements and how many hours you're spending there and kind of things like that.
You mentioned business before. Are there any sort of classes like grant writing or like business fundamentals for to to gear towards private practice at all at Rutgers?
I don't think there's like any business specific classes like through the MSW program. I'm sure there's maybe electives that you could take like outside of it. Like I know even if I wanted to take like say a law class, like I'd have to like get approval from it or whatever, but I probably could do that as long as I'm on track. But I know there's kind of like I know there's like a human resource class, there's like kind of more like policy based class. Like there's a bunch of classes in that, but I don't think anything like business centered or kind of like math wise besides like research methods. But I definitely feel like it should be probably included in the curriculum at some point, just because I feel like a lot of people do have an interest in private practice and kind of how to run it and kind of like how to go about that within a social work field.
Yeah, I've been stressing ad nauseum about the lack of these classes, and because it just doesn't make sense like to to gear us in private practice, but you don't teach business fundamentals, you don't teach taxes, don't teach marketing, how to market yourself to get the clients. Is just it doesn't make sense at all. Um, is there you have like a dream job in mind, or you just want, or not yet, or you just focus on just day to day getting your classes done, getting the internship done, and try to be done next year?
Yeah, I mean, I think getting through it is important, but I mean, I think like in the different jobs that I've had, like most of it's kind of been working with youth, but even like last summer, I had an opportunity to camp where I was with like youth and adults that have like special needs. So
Mm.
I would say right now I'm definitely interested in working with youth. In what capacity, I don't really know yet. I'm still kind of figuring that out, but obviously there's like a lot that I kind of want to experience first, and I never want to like limit myself in a box. Like I do have interest in macro social work. I didn't really know much about it before getting in the program, but that's definitely something that I'm definitely more passionate about, like diversity, those sort of issues that are in line with the values of social work. But I think in terms of right now, definitely working in some capacity with youth. I do like counseling students at my current internship, and all my experience basically has been with kids, whether it's in a daycare or at a camp or in a more like therapeutic kind of clinical setting. So I would say probably something with youth I could see myself doing.
What are some of like the behavior issues that you currently seeing with the kids?
Yeah, sure. So I think I mean, I have a lot of different cases, but
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of it is like anxiety, ADHD. Those are probably like the most disorders that I come into contact with that students have. But I think just like being able to navigate their emotions and kind of like developing coping mechanisms and strategies to kind of deal with whether it's anxiety or kind of dealing with unfocused and kind of just having that safe place to do so. So I kind of try to just develop rapport with them and kind of problem solve together, what's going to work for them, and kind of learning to do that with them during session. So
Yeah, I felt like COVID kind of like, well, definitely messed everybody up. But I feel like with the kids, that you already you know s- struggle with managing emotions, and depending on the age of the kids, there's like hormones involved, and things of that nature. But now you just added COVID, and you're like a year and a half, 2 years of just uh between Zoom and iPad and Chrome schoolwork, and it's like, so the lack of the social skills definitely a huge lacking, even more than it was before COVID. So all that kind of adds to the anxiety, and kind of, there's just a lot that's happening with the kids. Fortune Unfortunately for them.
yeah, definitely, I agree. I mean, I think especially with the younger ones too, that maybe were in those primitive years, whether it's like preschool or elementary
Hmm.
school, and they aren't able to have that like those experiences due to COVID. And even now, it's like we're back in person for the most part. Like everything's back in person, but I think there is like a sort of adjustment that has to happen with, going from school online where you're on a Google Meet or a Zoom call, kind of like this, and going back to in person and learning how to engage with people and interact when maybe you haven't done it for, a long time. So I think it's definitely something that's getting better with time as we're kind of getting used to like the post-pandemic sort of state that we're in. But I think it's just something that's going to take time for kids to kind of adjust to and kind of go through the motions of school and all these other issues that they're tackling at the moment.
No, definitely is going to take time, and I know I'm afraid it's going to take a long time, to almost like a whole generation. Seems like just just constant issues, and I don't. For me, I haven't really seen the U.S. Department of Education try to deal with this issue, and the trickle down effect. No, I haven't seen some couple of school districts that I've been involved with or seen, or even as a parent, don't really see that happening to really like kind of address that. So it's the trickle down effect is definitely see it. So I hope it gets better soon, and for those who are in school social work or want to get into school social work, they got an uphill battle, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's something where time will tell. I mean, even with COVID, I feel like we probably won't know like the effects on, say, students or youth for years to come. And it's kind of, you just kind of have to support the students. I think that's kind of the only thing that I could think of that could be effective is just kind of supporting them where they're at and just meeting them where they're at in that moment and just kind of understanding that each and every one of them is different and that's okay. And just learning to work with them in whatever capacity they're comfortable with.
All right. So so what? So forget school for a moment. Forget it's what else like you like to do, just to, like, I know you mentioned, like to do things that not related to mental health, but like, let's give like more on an example of that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm definitely someone that likes to read. That's something that I definitely enjoy. I guess trying out new food, just kind of doing things that push me out of my comfort zone and kind of whether it's trips, I definitely like to travel, definitely like warmer places. I know Jersey is really cold right now with the snow, so just kind of looking forward to traveling when the semester's over and just kind of experiencing new things and meeting new people and yeah.
Yeah, awesome. How could people reach out to you and want to you know connect, and maybe share resources? New Jersey is still in the hub of the Northeast. Northeast is kind of is where it's at. So
Yeah, I would say the best way to reach out to me is through LinkedIn.
okay,
I'm pretty active on there. I'm always posting, updating. So I think that's the best way to reach me if people are interested.
Cool. Uh, Sam, pleasure. By all means, I'm available. You need a resource, by all means, no, don't hesitate to reach out.
Okay, thank you.